Well, how you doing, folks? This is Tim from Well Done Homestead, and as you can hear, we are at the, and probably see too, if you're ever actually watching this on YouTube, we're at the range, and this is my buddy Josiah, and I'm gonna have Josiah go ahead and introduce his YouTube channel. He does have a channel as well, and the link is gonna be in the bottom, in the description. So make sure you get onto his channel, hit the subscribe button, follow his stuff too. Anyway, Josiah, go ahead and share a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, thanks for having me out, Tim. It's great to be here. You can find my YouTube channel at Covert Breakout. Link will be down in the description. And we do a lot of, I guess you could say, like Minuteman mindset sort of stuff, similar to what you're doing. It's a new channel. I'm still working things out as far as where things need to be. And I just came from a big season of my life, getting married and stuff like that. So things kind of got pushed back a little bit, but hoping to pick that back up. And once again, thank you for having me out here today.
Yeah, man, absolutely, absolutely. So Josiah and I have been pals shooting together and kind of doing different drills and whatnot together for a couple of years now. And we've actually even gone camping once. I'd like to do that some more. I think that'd be pretty cool and
Absolutely.
be able to film some of that. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments below. But I'll probably just do it anyway because this is my channel and I do what I want. Anyway, but what we're gonna do today, we are gonna pick up with Handguns 101. Last week we talked about kind of some of the basics, the foundational stuff, the information. Today we're going to actually implement some of that stuff into, you know, how to grip the pistol, how to come up on target, all of that stuff. And that's why Josiah is here. I look to him because, like I said before, I am not a professional in this. I am not, I'm still learning. And there's a lot to learn in this as far as form and whatnot. So that's why Josiah is here, because I look to him as being one of my mentors in this. And if you're done learning, if you don't want to learn anymore, then you should probably just pack it up, to be really honest, because we can all learn from one another. And so anyway, we're going to talk through, and oh, by the way, in the description below is also going to be the link for the part 1 of this. I may try, no, I'm not even going to try. I was going to say I'll try and put a card up in the upper corner, but I don't think I know how to do that. So unless I find another YouTube video to share with me how to do that,
I'll show you how.
Probably will. Okay, there you go. He's gonna show me how. So that's cool. Anyway, so but at least it will be definitely in the description below. But like the videos, share the videos. If you know people that need to see these videos, share them with them. If you don't, if you share with videos, okay, let me start that over again. If you know some people that don't like these kind of videos, share with them too. I'd love to hear their opinion on why these things are bad, and then we can have a conversation about it. I'm all about having conversations and learning from one another. So anyway, that's where that's going to be. So without any further ado, we are going to go ahead and kind of move into the how-tos of all this. Now that you know what kind of pistol you're going to get, or hopefully you know what kind, you've gone to the store, you felt it, maybe even shot a few of them. Now we're going to learn the how-tos on what to really do. So I'm going to kind of lead or let Josiah lead in this aspect, and we'll kind of talk through this, have a little bit of a conversation, but ultimately I'm going to be leaning on him. He's going to be the one kind of instructing. So take it away.
All right, well, thank you for all of those kind words. I definitely don't consider myself to be an expert. However, I have soaked up a lot of YouTube knowledge from a lot of different people, Travis Haley, Instructor Zero, to name a few, of what it is that they have learned through their prior military experience,
Yep.
and then try to incorporate that into my own lifestyle, being a prepared citizen, right? And I think that's why we're all watching this video, why we're all trying to learn and grow and expand our knowledge, just so that we can have that foundational base of what it is that we want to be and how we want to protect our families, right?
Indeed.
So that being said, you just bought your first pistol, whatever that may be. I would then instruct anyone, brand new shooters, to get comfortable dry firing. I know you touched on that briefly in the other video, but absolutely get used to that pistol, dry fire it, know the insides and outs, know how to take that slide off, know how to change those magazines,
Yep.
know what that trigger feels like, and you're not going to hurt it unless you bought, you know, an antiquated gun like 1911 or something like that. We're just going right at it, guys. So for starters, I like Glock. I've been shooting Glock for a long time. clear and safe?
Yep.
Right. Glock 19, Gen 4. I've had this gun since I turned 21, and it's coming up on 10 years now.
Yeah.
So these are proven weapons systems. Militaries around the world have used these, law enforcement agencies. Generally speaking, whenever someone says a Glock 19, they have a frame of reference, even if they don't personally own one.
Right.
And because of that being a striker fired, somewhat compact pistol,
Yep.
people have a rough idea of what to expect.
Right.
Now, it could be a SIG, it could be a Smith & Wesson. They're all great weapons. Point is, get something with a proven track record
Yes.
and know how to use it and know how to dry fire it, and you will be okay.
Absolutely.
You have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's right on the money. And I don't have a Glock, and I mentioned last time why I don't have a Glock. I just could not get my hand to really feel good on that handle. So I have my Smith & Wesson, and I like this handle a lot better. It fits me better. I shoot this weapon better than I can shoot the Glock. And ultimately, that is why you choose the firearm you choose. I mean, I love Glocks. I wish I could shoot a Glock, because reality is there's a whole lot more parts and accessories and whatnot for that firearm than there is for this firearm. But this one just happened to be the one that fit me better. So, yeah.
Chevy versus Ford, they're
Yeah.
all different. I mean, especially since we're talking polymer frames, striker fired pistols, they're all relatively simple. So when you're diagnosing problems or working on your stance or things of that nature, they're generally universal.
Yep.
So with that said, as far as holsters and what holsters to pick, I like to choose my holsters based on what it is that I'm doing within that particular instance. Since this is a 101 video, we're primarily going to be talking about appendix carry and holsters that you could potentially do small of the back carry, like 4 o'clock carry inside the waistband, meaning it is actually setting with your belt in front of your holster, so it's tucked up against you, which provides you a very stable platform for concealment.
Yep.
And this particular holster is by T-Rex Arms, and I do
You can see
believe
this
you're
right here.
also
Yep,
rocking
mine
their
is also
sidecar.
a T-Rex, and he just has the wing on his. I actually have the mag holder on mine, but ultimately this is the same exact setup.
I actually have one of the older styles here right before they went to this spine design.
Yep.
And this allows me to take this same pistol and incorporate a spare magazine into it.
Yep, absolutely. How do you like the newer style, the spine style, versus that one?
The newer spine style is definitely more comfortable, and I like that you can actually take off that side mag carrier. Say if I'm wanting to roll a little bit deeper concealment, maybe I'm wearing shorts, maybe it's hot out, having that extra mag there, while it is nice in a lot of situations, it is kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So in some instances, it may be better to have a spare magazine, say, in your pocket.
Yep, there you go.
And that's just something there that gives me 30 rounds on tap, and that can easily be either tucked away in my pocket or in a bag, something that I'm carrying. And plus, with this, I can also move it to my back. Say if I'm working in an environment with work pants and stuff like that, outside, something like that, and I'm constantly bending over and stuff like that,
You're not cutting your...
I'm not cutting my gut and everything else like that. Appendix carry, well, actually, let's just segue right into stance.
Yeah, absolutely.
By way of where to carry.
Yep.
I like to choose appendix for multiple reasons. One being, regardless of what stance I'm in, whether if I'm seated in my vehicle, whether if I'm standing, walking, running, it's all very quick to get to, and it's all consistent. Whereas if you are in varying positions, whether seated in your car, you may have a seat belt, you may have something around you, like if you're sitting at work, you may have an armchair or something like that digging into you.
Yeah.
If you're running, you may actually print and not realize that you're printing. Whereas up front here, you generally, especially, just with a quick glance, you can easily see, okay, am I printing? Is something maybe coming up a little bit? This is a lot more easy, I think.
Yep.
Plus, it gives you a lot more consistent draw that you can easily always go to.
Indeed. One thing to say though, if you are going to appendix carry, especially as a guy, and you don't want to shoot your junk off, you really want to practice your trigger discipline, making sure that your finger does not touch the trigger and that your finger is off the trigger when you're reholstering, because let's face it, nobody wants that. Like, nobody wants you to shoot off your pills. That would be very bad. So making sure that your finger is off the trigger as you're drawing, making sure that clothing, when you're reholstering, is out of the way. I think those are the biggest things as far as appendix carry. A lot of people don't like it because they say there's a danger there, there's a risk there. Fact is, it makes you be more aware. And if you're not going to be aware, you probably shouldn't carry anyway. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I feel like if you're not paying attention, you're probably going to miss the situation. I mean, but that's my 2 cents. But yeah, definitely being careful. I know that a lot of guys carry at 3, carry at 4. It is far less likely that you're going to, although I will say, one of my buddies from California, it was his class, Trident Firearms Academy, had someone, I won't say who, they actually went to holster on their hip and their finger was still on the trigger. As they holstered the firearm, it actually pressed the trigger and they shot through the outside of their leg. They had to stop the class, call an ambulance, they had to take her to the hospital. Had to take them to the hospital. Anyway, the person was fine. It just was a very, very vivid lesson on why trigger discipline is so vitally important.
I would argue, and I know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here. This might be because
okay.
I'm a young, technically millennial, technically Zoomer, who obviously watches a lot of T-Rex arms and things of that nature. So already, the boomers are gonna hate me.
Yep. Well, you already
Not
bagged
really.
on the 1911, so they already hate you.
Let's keep going. I'm kidding, guys. You guys are great. I think that it's potentially, I'm not gonna say always or absolute, but potentially more dangerous to carry small of the back 4 o'clock. Here's why I say that. When you're carrying back there, and we're just gonna hypothetically picture my holster being back there, okay? Like what you said.
Yeah.
There's a lot of instances to where your clothing, where your finger, where your
Yeah.
holster, depending on what you're carrying, could potentially get in the way of your trigger.
Right,
okay?
right.
Especially considering now, if I'm reholstering, I'm not potentially seeing what's taking place back there. Now,
agree.
if you were to draw a line, what is in line directly with where my muscles point right now?
Your freaking knee, your ankle, everything below.
A major artery.
Yeah, and that too.
A major
Yeah.
artery. One that potentially a tourniquet will save, but still, depending on how high that gets up, you may not be able to get a tourniquet the entire way up.
That's true.
When you are also in varying positions, okay, that could potentially flag a friend.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on what you're doing, depending on how close you're rolling to the people, maybe a family member, maybe you're reholstering inside a vehicle and your muzzle's pointed at your passenger seat. Yes, you can always shoot your groin area.
Yeah.
You would survive that. You may not survive hitting this main artery right here. I'm just going to point that out there from a logical perspective. Point is, know where your muzzle is, know what your trigger's doing. One is not safer than the other because they both are equally as dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
That's facts. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yep, I agree.
With that said, stance. How do we want to stand whenever we are approaching or potentially looking at dealing with a situation?
Yeah.
I would like to say that one size roll fits all, but depending on what's taking place, you may be in a situation to where you need to be moving as you're drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So for this, especially since we're talking a 101 course, we're going to start with the basics here.
Static.
Static.
Yep.
That said, I'm right-handed. I'm going to draw with my right hand. I like to lead with my left foot forward and just have almost like a sporting running stance. Doesn't need to be completely exaggerated, like I'm on a football line or something like that nature. But you don't want to be in a situation to where you're standing still and not having a firm stance.
Right.
Think
Leaning
if you're
back.
think if you're on gravel, think if you're in a situation to where there's water and you might slip.
Mud, snow.
All of those weather
Yep.
conditions. So having a more aggressive sports stance, similar to what I'm doing here, is going to be a very stable platform for me to draw from. From there, I like to look at everything I do in segments.
Mm-hmm.
Reason for that is because you can break down each of those segments in your training. As you're dry firing at home, you can very easily address certain things, like maybe my clothing's getting hung up on one spot. Maybe because I'm wearing a pocket knife and a few things there, my flannel's dragging on that. And if I'm worrying about shooting and everything else, I may create bad habits because of these smaller things that I'm not allowing myself to properly diagnose.
Yep.
With that said, when you are going for your pistol, I like to think of that as one singular movement. Okay. So what I like to do, especially since we're talking appendix carry, this is going to be great. I like to, with my non-dominant hand, take and grab whatever it is that my clothing article is, whether if it's a jacket or a flannel, grab that tail and hike that up. Now, depending on what it is, depending on what my belt is and what I have in my pockets, it may catch a little bit.
Yeah.
So it'll eventually, over time, you will learn what's comfortable, how to access that, and generally I want to move it out of the way and make sure that the back side is definitely up with it also, as opposed to that potentially getting caught on that seam there, and then I have an issue there to where I can't fully get my flannel up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
So from there, 1, 2, 3. And the reason why I break them down into thirds like that, as I grab my microphone wire in the process, depending on, like I said, depending on what articles of clothing I have there, I may need to change my grip, maybe go for a second time. It's not ideal, but it's better to work with that now instead of pulling a pistol out and potentially having your clothing interfere with that in this instance. So realizing you have a clear draw at this point, going in, and I like to get a very aggressive purchase right off the get-go. Go ahead and take the web of your hand there, get it right up in where that beaver tail is, and already I have my grip firmly established, and my pointer finger where it needs to be, and my thumb already indexed for my support hand to come in. That's all in that one singular grab, okay? From there, I like to bring it up.
Let me grab the camera, let me bring it over, and let's actually show a closer up on your hand just so that we can have that.
Absolutely. All right, so we have our stance. We go ahead and grab our clothing, hike it up, go ahead and get that really aggressive purchase and grip, and then we have our presentation from there. As we're breaking this down, we can easily look and see that there are certain segments here that we want to consider. One of those being bringing the pistol in a very consistent draw up to your workspace. Travis Haley talks about this, and Instructor Zero talks about this being your workspace. Workspace being, if I have to bring the pistol into a position here, say if there's a situation that I need to deal with directly close in front.
3 feet.
I may not have time to fully extend, worry about my grip and everything like that. I potentially may just be firing from this point. Okay? So from there, having a stable platform that I could put off rounds here is going to be beneficial, because I already need to get from this point outward. Why not have a stable platform from here from the get-go? Okay? Especially considering you may need to run, you may need to move, you might need to scale something. This is a very solid place to keep everything, as opposed to up, as opposed to down, as opposed to other places. So that being said, we're going again. 1, make sure it's clear. 2, establish that grip. Bring up to your workspace, present. So let's talk about that 4th step when presenting. I don't know if you can focus this, but I like to have a high-vis front with a large rear saddle. The reason for that is because 9 times out of 10, I'm doing what's considered a hard target focus. I am solely focusing my eyesight to that target. I am bringing up my front post sight to meet that target, but I'm not focusing on that front sight post. Nothing in my pistol range is in focus. I'm solely focusing on my target. There's different schools of thought, and again, depending on where you get your training from, depending on who you listen to and what era of training they come from, everyone's going to have their own school of thought. That's why it's important for you to figure out what works for you and to get proficient with that. Army guys will say one thing, Navy guys will say a different thing, the homeschool guys will say another thing. Everybody's different, all right? The reason why I subscribe to the hard target focus perspective is my threat's down there. My focus is not here.
Right.
If it means me making a shot by kind of lining this up to then cast that bullet out there and maybe not see what's going on, I just don't think that's really safe. It's more important for me to focus on that target and know exactly what's taking place there than to have everything up close and focus on that. with training, you will be just as fast with the hard target focus.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that, Tim?
No, I think you're right on the money. I was trained front post, front post, front post. And because it was my trainer, the guy that taught me that, was a little old school. Like he just was. And it does work for me. But I kind of do a little bit of the hybrid now. I find myself looking at my target and then bringing the sights into the picture.
Depending on what school of thought you come from, you'll also hear of people, and again, this is more of an advanced course, but this is why I subscribe to the hard target focus, just to get you guys trained on that from the get-go. If you are super close, we're talking within here, your round in your chamber and your barrel is, especially on a Glock, is all within this region. If you need to quickly deliver rounds to that target, let's say if it's over there, you could essentially just block out the entire target with this back saddle region and just look at that target through your peripheral vision. You will quickly and effectively deliver accurate rounds to that target just by doing that. I could have 0 sights up there completely. Because of that little technique there, you're going to send rounds into that direction that you need to go.
Yeah.
There's different schools of thought that have different techniques like that. That's why I subscribe to the hard target focus. One other thing here before we start shooting. What does your support hand do? Again, different schools of thought depending on what generation you come through. I've seen some people do support hand with your thumb coming over like this.
Yuck.
Especially more of the old school guys, 1911, Beretta M9 era, depending on what they were trained with, especially from the Army doctrine. I've seen some guys just come over here and kind of twist their thumbs, similar to like that. More and more, I subscribe to, I don't technically know what this is called. Maybe one of you guys in the comments can comment down below and tell me which grip you prefer. I like to use my index finger and my middle finger, and we are clear and safe, to sort of come right up in where the trigger guard is and support everything. With this hand on this side, my thumb's just gonna rest there. And honestly, these thumbs could really not do anything. This is just to kind of index off of that point, and that just gets cradled. The reason why I like this grip anymore is because as I'm shooting, most of what takes place is going to be within my index finger, especially in a striker fired pistol. The pad, and some people even get into the web of your finger, both work. The important thing is if your shots are flying low left, you're using too much trigger.
Too much finger in the trigger well.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So that said, you're not pulling it straight back. When you pull your trigger back, I'm going to turn it this way. You want to think pulling that trigger straight back, as opposed to jerking it back or just lobbing that finger back, because how consistent you are on that break is going to determine if your shot goes left or right.
Yeah.
So really focusing on taking that finger and bringing it back in such a consistent way that it's meeting that wall consistently every single time, that's where you need to be. So from there, I like to have my support hand in this position, because then I'm able to pull backwards and mitigate some of that recoil.
Yep.
So I actually have an active way to reduce some of that recoil, whereas other techniques, especially this, it seems like their thought process is, let's try to contain that recoil. This is actively just counteracting that recoil.
Yeah.
Think, I don't know, think shock absorbers versus something with a piston. Like you're actually able to, well, actually, since we're all coming from an AR perspective, direct impingement, you're just utilizing those gases and working with what you got, whereas a piston, you're counteracting that with an equal force.
Right.
That's a better way of saying it. So, that said, there's different schools of thought. Work with what you got.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, guys, so I'm going to walk through everything that we just talked about really slowly so you can have a visual representation of what took place, and we'll actually show hits, so you'll see if I'm talking straight or not. So from there, remember, lead with your opposite foot forward, right-handed, left foot goes forward, and go ahead and pull up. That's your first step. put your grip there. Second step, get in your workspace. Third, from third to fourth, I'm gently putting pressure onto the trigger to meet that wall. And at this point, I'm doing a hard target focus. We're gonna squeeze around. Do another one. Bring it back. And we can go ahead and check out these hits. So that was 7 yards, 3 shots right there.
Yep. Not bad. I mean, those are target lethal. Put it that way.
Target lethal, yep.
Threat. All right. Threat. Threat. All right, this one, Josiah, I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna get behind you for the shot though, because I don't want to be in front of you. But we're gonna do this one as quickly as if this was real life. Okay? So this is a real life situation. You are concerned for your life. When I call threat, this is gonna be the real deal. All right? All right.
Are both targets optional?
Let's just stay with one for now.
Stay with one? All right.
Threat. And he lost his microphone, folks. All right, so as you can see there, he actually moved off his X, and that is something we want to discuss. But right now, with this being a 101, moving off the X is a little bit more advanced. You want to make sure that you're putting shots on target consistently, and so let's actually take a look at his shots. But moving off the X is important because if your attacker also has a firearm, the reality is that they're probably going to be shooting back. If they're shooting back, you do not want to give them a target that is easy to hit. So you're moving off of your X, off of the spot where you pull, and moving in a direction, whether it's towards the attacker, to the side. The guy that taught me said you should switch it up, make it, make it a surprise so that they're not expecting it. If there's cover or if there's concealment and you can move towards it, that's a good idea as well, because that gives you something between you and your attacker, even if it's just not having a clear visible shot at you, which is what that's cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's concealment. Cover is actually going to stop bullets. Concealment is just going to hide you. Yeah, I always get those mixed up. Anyway,
I sometimes do as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Those are good shots right there. Everything's within. I would say everything's within the kill box. As far as this target, there's a couple of them that were flyers, but let's face it, that's going to happen when your adrenaline's up. And that's why we practice, because the more time you take to put shots downrange, the more likely it is you're going to be accurate when it counts, when it's necessary. Would you agree?
I would agree. I would also not make it the excuse, but I have been a little bit rusty just because of life circumstances. I haven't been out here at the range as much as I should have been, which is why, even if you know what to do, you still come out here and train, because it's all muscle memory.
That's right.
Another thing to consider is the more time you take, in theory, the more accurate you will be, or at least you should be. So whenever I was making that very first round there with those 3 shots, you can see that group was pretty consistent. And as I sped things up, the circle widens a little bit, just because now, especially if you're moving off of the X and doing things that we just talked about, you're now introducing a muzzle movement as you're walking.
That's right.
And also you're just trying to put as many rounds downrange as possible for whatever reason. So you're gauging how far your target is versus your accuracy, and combining all of those things, your circle is going to widen. That's okay. Just realize how wide it's getting, and when and when not to use that wide of a circle.
Fair enough. Absolutely. All right, so I'm gonna actually shoot a couple of shots too. I did bring 2 different targets, one for Josiah, one for myself. I can guarantee you his group is gonna be tighter than mine. but that's what he said. He said practice, 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 absolutely practice, practice, practice. Something that we were actually just discussing as I was loading my firearm. If you decide that a revolver is the way to go for you, that is not my thing. I know that they have speed loaders. They have some speed strips that you can put bullets in and you can quickly load a revolver. The bottom line is for you, it is going to be a little slower, but you can get fast. I've seen guys with wheel guns that are very, very quick. And learning how to do that is going to be you taking the time to learn how to load it, to learn how to pull it, dry fire, all that stuff. It's all practice, 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 practice. So don't shy away from that. Take some time, do 10, 12 reps a night. And I know that sounds crazy, but doing it every night is going to make it so that you're going to be accurate. You're going to be better. You're going to be prepared when the time comes. So there's that. All right. I'm ready. I'm gonna go slower on the first. Okay.
It's all good. Shooter ready?
Yeah.
Threat.
And that's good.
Good form. All right. Let's pick it up a little bit. Stand by. Threat. Good. Let me move you just a little bit. That's good. All right. Let's do one more, and then we'll do a real life, potentially a reload. All right?
Okay. Yep.
Stand by. Threat. Good. All right, real life, 3 rounds or more, depending on what you feel. Move off the X. Yep. Shooter ready?
Yep.
Threat.
I walked out of the frame, didn't I?
No, actually, I turned it just at the right angle. So we got all that.
Well, let's take a look. I know that my group is not nearly as tight as yours, and I'm off to the left. You can see here, I'm off to the left quite a bit. I had a couple that were decent, but again, and this is going to be, like I said, I am not a professional. This is, let's face it, I haven't been to the range to shoot pistol. I don't even want to say how long. It's been 6 months, I think. It's been 5 or 6 months. And you can see, yeah, I mean, you can tell that I'm not as accurate as I should be. And this means too that I need to be a little more consistent about dry firing at home, because if you're dry firing at home and you're actually coming up and you're getting good sight picture and dry firing, that's going to help you not be afraid of recoil. It's also going to help you put sight picture where it needs to be, so that when you're actually pressing the trigger back, you're not pulling things one side or the other, up, down, whatever. I may actually I've got a graphic that shows if you're off to the right, if you're low, if you're off to the left, whatever. It shows kind of how to work on things so that it'll be a little bit better, a little straighter, right on point. Ultimately, this proves to everybody that I need to spend a little more time. I mean, let's face it, I do. I need to put a little more time here at the range, put a little more time at home dry firing and doing those drills. But yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
One thing that a lot of people get stressed out about is they see results worse than this, and they're like, well, I need to go buy a new handgun, or I need to be done, or whatever.
Right.
Take it slow. Obviously, we came out here with some speed because we're trying to make a video and then trying to share what we know, and then also being vulnerable with what we have going on as far as our level of performance. That's what she said. The point of all of that, though, is you need to be proficient and train. Now, obviously, that level of training is going to be different for different people based on what they can physically and mentally do, right?
Right.
The point is we need to be training. So if you come out here and you see this level of performance or worse, don't be so hard on yourself. Just come back out on a new day whenever you're fresh, and more importantly, take things slow. And it's a challenge to you.
Yeah.
I bet if we go back to 7 yards, you do everything that you did, but you take an extra few seconds. I bet you can get a really tight group on that head box there, on that target.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, let's try it.
All right, let me get your camera angle set up.
I'm gonna make sure I still have 3. I don't. So we're gonna do a mag change.
Okay. How many do you have currently?
2.
All right, so let's just do 2.
Just do 2. Okay.
Let's just 2 to isolate it. And again, take your time.
Yep.
You're aiming for the head box of my target. Try to get him as close to his nose as possible.
You got it.
Shooter ready?
Ready.
Threat. All right, let's take a look at that.
I gave him eyeballs.
You sure did.
That's a little better. Taking the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're seeing that you're drifting one way or another, just take some time with that. Obviously, try not to think about Lucas Bodkin or Mike Jones whenever this is
right. Well,
whenever
and
you got the
those
flat
dudes
range.
have been doing this for years, and it's all they do. Man, like I look at Lucas and I watch some of the stuff that he puts out. T-Rex Arms, man, he is a fantastic. I mean, he just does a very, very good job. It's his life. I mean,
Yeah.
For me to sit here and say I'm not a professional, I would put him in the professional category. He trains all the time. It's all he does. He is very good at what he does. Very good. So yeah, definitely don't get discouraged. I'm not discouraged by that even, because I'm looking at that and I'm saying, you know, while it was off to the left, it wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be. They were relatively quicker shots, and let's face it, that's gonna hurt. I mean, that's gonna hurt whatever it is that I'm aiming at.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
That's all I have.
All right, very cool. All right, folks, I am going to stop quickly and kind of show you some of the stuff that I do at my house. And like I said, I've put some of these up recently, and I've been working recently a little bit, but like I said, it's been 6 months since I've really been on this on an everyday basis, and it kind of shows. So I'll show you some dry fire drills that I do. And so we'll get right on it and show you that, and then we'll wrap things up. But thank you so much, Josiah. I really appreciate you coming on. Check out the description. His link will be there, and look for more content to come, because I'm sure it's coming. Alrighty, so we're back in my basement here, and I wanted to show you guys some of the dry fire drills. Well, I'm just going to show you one. Just one dry fire drill that you can do in your house and practice aiming at a specific small target. That whole adage of aim small, miss small, super, super important. Now, when you're under stress and you're under duress, when you're actually in the middle of something, the adrenaline is going to be ramped up, and it is going to be a lot more difficult to hone in and fire on a small target. But if you practice firing at a small target, that's going to translate. Your body is going to, and your mind is going to default to your training, okay? So if you train, it will translate to being more accurate in the midst of a real problem. So you can see here, I've got a couple of orange dots here. I've got one right here. I've got one over here on this side. I've got various ones around the room that I use to practice drawing, coming up on target, and shooting, actually taking a shot with dry fire to practice my trigger press. And I will actually practice mag changes as well. Now, I have a concrete floor here. If you're going to do a lot of mag changes and you're dropping magazines on the concrete or on the tar, you might want to put a mat down or a blanket down or something like that, so it actually prevents it from being damaged. Because if you keep dropping it on a hard surface, you're going to damage the magazine. And unless you got 30, 40 bucks, you want to just plunk down on spare magazines, which, hey, go for it. That's up to you. But I don't. So I'm on a budget here, as we've mentioned before. So I'm going to show you guys kind of what I do for my dry fire drill, and we'll kind of go from there. So, All right, you can see my dot right there. So I will pull and aim. Bring that center post right up on my dot. And as Josiah said, you can actually use this back portion of your pistol to bring it right up on target. Okay? And you can see I don't have that advanced grip that he has. I just go with stacking my thumbs. I get my fingers in the small of my hand there, and then get my fingers locked into the grooves on my other hand. And that's it. And then I'm on. And then I'll put it back. And I will show you guys. Let me show you. Magazine is empty. See, the magazine is empty. And you can see there's nothing in the chamber. So we'll come up on target and press. And reset and press. And you can do that multiple times if you want to, as far as like practicing your shot. You can also practice with starting with the slide back. And you can 1, 2, 3, and then drop, mag change, advance the slide, and you're back on target, just like that. And you can practice that over and over again so that you get quick with your mag changes. You can get quick with your draw and practicing the steps. You remember, Josiah was saying, this is number 1, pulling up. Number 2, getting good purchase. And you can practice those just 1, 2. And then 1, 2. And then 1, 2. And then if you want to practice 2, 3, 4. You put it back. And then 2, 3, 4. Just like that. You can do that over and over again to practice those repetitions of getting things up on target. Grabbing, whoop, I got my shirt in my hand there on that one, and that's why we practice and get it right up on target. All right? It's very, very simple to do. It's very important to do. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think of the video. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Share the videos around. We definitely want to see other people joining in. Please comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have a different way of standing, if you have a different way of gripping the pistol, by all means, please share those things. We are learners here, and that's why we get on YouTube, to go through these kinds of things so that we can learn from one another. So if you have some ideas, please let me know. I'm working on some things for the future here for Well Done Homestead, and we're obviously working on some more videos for you guys. So let me know what you think. Write me in the comments. Thanks so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Stay prepared.